Welcome back to the channel and good morning. Technically, I guess it isn't morning since I did stay up for 24 hours straight and it is 2 p.m. I worked 11 hours on the 600 horsepower Lambo killer Civic engine wiring harness. Trevor backfed a 12 volt into the 5 volt source, so it burnt the ECU out. So I just ended up redoing the whole harness for the engine, cleaning it up and getting it ready to go. We were trying to make streetcar takeover, but not just the wiring wasn't finished. There was, drive shaft, radiator fans, all kinds of fabrication. Probably a whole nother day or two to get done in like only a few hours. We had like 4 hours till we had to be up to PFI because it's like a 4-hour drive to get up there. So we would have never made it to get tuned because they have to go to the track and set some stuff up.
All right, Dave, so you've been at this for about 3 hours.
Yep.
Dave says he's about almost done. Do you guys believe him?
I'm excited. So what have you found? What have I done wrong so far, Dave?
I mean, I haven't really paid attention.
You haven't paid attention? That means I didn't do nothing wrong. How about that?
I just have been fixing this mess. That's what I do.
So,
Did you tell them where you're going to run it?
In your ass.
oh, David, now I gotta beat that out.
Dave.
So Dave says he's about done.
Is this the Discovery Channel?
So Dave's been messing around with this harness over here. But Dave, what did I do?
You shorted the 5 volt to ground.
Where?
Right.
Where did I do?
These two connectors.
So the coolant temp sensor, the IAT, they got it.
So pretty much how I ran the harness was just by the water neck. All the training sensors are connected. All the wiring for the injectors are hidden under the manifold. And they go to the alternator, down to the knock sensor, starter, TPS, IACV, and then all the wires just run up through the top of the valve cover. All this stuff is unloomed, so it just looks like a bunch of wires, but they are all nice and tidy and zip tied for right now. Mounted the boost controller right here, so it is just more direct and there isn't a bunch of lines just going everywhere. So it just looks a lot cleaner. This cover hides all these wires and then the wires go directly into the car back there. It keeps everything away from the exhaust. The old harness pretty much ran down there on the back in between the exhaust manifold and the wastegate, and then ran over to the back of the firewall and along it into the car. So this is probably less likely to have any heat issues with the wiring harness. And now the boost controller is centrally located. All the wires are tucked and hidden from that, and it's a lot cleaner than it would be with a stock harness that's just kind of modified. Also, this is the ECU master plugs, and I just have to pin all of these leads into the plugs once I run them into the car. An interesting thing about the new boost controller solenoids is they actually unplug now. So I integrated this into the harness instead of having an additional plug in the boost controller, because now that they unplug, you could change out a bad faulty boost controller and not have to splice into the harness or have a plug to replace it, which is actually really cool. So now this whole top coil and boost controller setup is done, and I have it all zip tied up for right now. We didn't have any sheathing to pretty much wrap the harness. We had like 2 sizes. I did find some for the boost controller down there. I had to rob it off a different harness. I made a little modification to how the wiring harness was routed. I moved this clamp to this position right here. I also moved the boost controller to this position right here. You can still get a hose on this port if Trevor wants to. I don't think he's gonna run one though. And then I ended up using the stock wiring loom for the valve cover. So that makes it a lot tidier. Everything fit in there. It was a tight fit, but it all fit. And it's nice and closed, tucked in there. And now these wires just come out the end. I was kind of cautious that the wires were gonna rub on this sharp edge because they were running down by the coils right here. So that resolves that issue, makes it a lot tidier. And now the boost controller is still in the same vicinity, but it's just in a different position, so everything should be fine. It's still far enough away from the exhaust manifold, it shouldn't melt anything. So this is what the engine bay looks like with the tucked harness. The only thing you're really going to see wire wise is what's on the sensors. Once it has a cover or sheathing that's black or whatever color you really want, if you want it to be a color that kind of stands out or matches the car, like yellow, but usually black conceals these. You won't even really be able to tell they're there with the black sheathing. They'll just kind of disappear almost with all the black intake manifold and couplers and radiator hoses and fuel lines and everything. And then back here also the wiring, once it has a sheathing on it, you really won't even notice it. Been working on the Civic for quite some time now and been making a lot of progress. I ran the wires for the engine into the chassis through the bulkhead connector. Trevor had a round one. It wasn't the correct one, so I grabbed another one off another harness. Now it's correct, and I have this black loom right here, heat shrink, adhesive line heat shrink on both sides, and it will be nice and tidy and clean. The rest of the loom will get wrapped eventually. I'm not too worried about it right now. We're gonna see if this thing works. I will heat shrink that after we figure out if it works or not. Streetcar takeover is tomorrow morning, and we're gonna leave at 6:30 in the morning. I think it's like 2 right now. So I'm gonna finish the Civic up when we get back. All I have to do is pin out the ECU and do that one ground. That won't be too difficult. So when we get back, I'll do that. But I'm gonna go head home, get a few hours of sleep, because it is like 2 in the morning. Have to wake up at 6:30, so I think I can get like maybe an hour, hour and a half. So Trevor, what's happening right now?
We're getting sent to the back of the line, which is the front of the line, but it's like 5 lines over. No,
it's like 8 lines over, because there's already 3 over at the main gate. So
there's like
we're gonna be waiting. I was hoping for some sleep, but
I guess we'll probably
get a nap in. But here at Streetcar Takeover, and the line is actually super long. So we got here pretty early. I thought a lot of people got here at like 6:30, and yeah, we're like 8 cars or 8 lines in, so we have quite a ways to wait. Ty's in the back sleeping. That car right there used to be Ty's brother's. He sold it. It was NA build, but the guy then boosted it. He's on 7 pounds, making 360 or something around there. Looks like things are finally rolling. So there's 3 lines right there, and then we are like that white truck line. I need what's in this Dodge trailer to fix my Hellcat. Twin Turbo Z, you don't see these very often that are actually decent condition. Most of them are just broke down and all, you know, haggard. So this thing's nice. Look at those brakes on there.
All right, can you get a baby?
Dang, man, this thing has some work on it. My subscribers was gonna give me a Galant VR4, but I never got it. I mean, I almost regret it. This is the first car I've seen us on a rotor on, and I've been really wanting to try one out. They look really nice. Look at that aluminum center section, stainless steel exhaust housing. Man, this R32 looks super clean, white on white. I mean, these wheels and everything matching. I didn't think I'd like it, but now that I checked it out, I almost need to get the RB done for my 240Z. This is making me almost want to do it, but I need to finish the LS first. They'll give you one down there. The ECU Master Black standalone ECU is now connected to the engine harness and to the chassis harness. Now all I have to do is do the heat shrink on the loom and put it through the firewall, connect the ECU, and put power to the car and make sure everything works as it should. I think it should be alright, but we'll see if it beeps or if it does some weird stuff. This is the old ECU, so it should be down the 5-volt signal. We'll just test it out on that to make sure everything is wired correctly other than the 5-volt sources. Since Trevor isn't done with all the battery wiring, I'm going to leave it at this. It is wired in. The ECU Master Black, pretty much I was thinking Trevor could make a bracket and it could just kind of sit in there like that, all nice and neat and tidy. But other than that, that's pretty much everything for this this wire tuck on the ECU. It is nice and clean. All these wires, damn, it's like random wires everywhere. It's irritating. And that is that. The engine is all wired up, and really Trevor just needs to do the drive shaft, that hood exit pipe, and a bunch of miscellaneous little things. This thing is ready to go. Throw a tune on it and then head over to the dyno. But I am pretty excited how the wiring came out. I've showed you this quite a few times now in this video, but it just pretty much is hidden under the intake manifold. Goes through the top, through the coil loom bracket, and then just down to the firewall through a new grommet with heat shrink and a nice little bit of sheathing or loom. That is the end of this video, and the Civic wiring is now complete. Well, the engine wiring is now complete. So this wasn't really a tutorial on how to wire an ECU Master Black into the Civic. It was just showing you how to clean a harness up, and you know that I was wiring it because it was past the point of just figuring out what happened, because Trevor had already done stuff to the harness. Once the connectors are cut, it's pretty much you know, anybody's game from there. The one main thing to note from this video is to make sure that you don't have voltage or grounds where they're not supposed to. Just check everything before you go plug your brand new ECU in. You don't want to burn a brand new ECU out and then have to buy another. So I'm gonna leave it at that. That's the end of this video. I hope you guys liked this video. If you did like the video, make sure to smash that subscribe button. Also give this video a thumbs up, comment below, let me know what you thought of the wiring, and see you next time.